Hi, I'm Sarah Davidson and I am the Reservations Coordinator at Travelodge Hobart. I began my career with TFE Hotels in 2012. I started as a receptionist and I moved through as a duty manager. I've completed FLP as well as now MLP. I've been lucky enough to do a release stint at Canberra Airport, and I also went to Auckland in January this year to train the front office and reservations team. All my life I've been a lover of learning and very stylish. One thing I've learned throughout TFE is that I really love to get to know a process, and I love to see if I can tweak it at all to make it at all any more operationally friendly. So throughout the years as I stepped up and I started training team members, I realised that in our management team we all train people differently. So we all have things we prioritise, we all have things that we forgot to train, and we all have things we were more confident in training people in. This led me to my first project, which is Train Me. So Train Me is a training manual designed to help people through the first few months of their integration into front office. It covers your introductions to TFE hotels. It looks at, those security processes we have, the PMPs in place for that. It looks at the properties, so talking about where we go in our locations, the key locations surrounding our hotels, and the policies we have at our own hotels. We divided it into front office and cross-training as well. So our front office covered reception. It made sure that we were making sure we trained people in those little things like wake-up calls and how to redirect wake-up calls when they fail, because we found that was something we forgot a lot of the time. We also looked at training our reservations, so we broke it down into 5 levels. This allowed us to open up the team to a more understanding of what we do and why we do it. It really gave them more access to drive more bookings direct with us as well, which we found. And by cross-training our team into basic housekeeping and maintenance, we were able to stop those small guest issues. We were no longer room moving people based on the fact their light bulb had blown. And we weren't, we weren't moving people either because if someone forgot to service a room. Overall, we found that it was quite a success. So Boyana was our trainer and Brooke was our first person to undertake the Train Me guide. I had Boyana train Brooke when I went to Auckland in January. I asked Boyana to do it when I was in Auckland so I could see if the guide was as easy to follow as I thought it was. The feedback Boyana gave was that she felt very supported and she felt more confident in training someone because she had something to lean on. And as you can see, Brooke loved it. And Brooke has really progressed quite quickly with her career now because she did have those strong starts. Overall, we found that it was a supportive tool for the trainee and a supportive tool for the trainer. It provided a straightforward process, and it outlined all those expectations we hold of our front office team. We really cut down the amount of time that we trained people and retrained them in certain aspects because we had a record of what we'd done. We also found that it was easy for us to hand over. So at a property like Travelodge Hobart, we can't just dedicate one person to training someone. It's quite a team effort because that's how hotels work, I guess. We all swap and change. And by having it and ticking it off and working through the processes, we found that we were all able to pass on and keep training someone properly instead of rehashing and not knowing where they were up to. And then for my second project, ROPS. ROPS wasn't really about helping my own team, but more so helping myself. So if you weren't aware, Travelodge Hobart, up until about 12 months ago, lived a glorious life of yielding very high rates and knowing that we would make the revenue. So we were busting through our budgets every month and we were doing a great job with it. And then we had a new hotel built in Hobart that was twice our size with twice the amenities. And what we saw from this was quite a change in our booking window. So we saw that our walk-ins between 2016 and 2017, they jumped by 166 rooms. And then in 24 hours, they also jumped, as well did our 72-hour window. What we noticed more importantly was our 1 week window, and especially our 4 to 6 week window. Our 4 to 6 week window year on year decreased by 715 room nights. Now we were behind in room nights overall for the year, but it didn't explain why our lead time changed so much. When we saw this and we started going back through all our easy RMS reports and looking at our daily pickup reports, we saw over February and March we were picking up an average of about 23 room nights between Friday night and Sunday night. Because of the setup of our hotel, we don't have anyone that's yielding rates over the weekend, and we don't have anyone that can increase those rates when that pickup is so last minute. So with Rob, what we created was a Protel report, it uses a Protel report, sorry, it uses our room on the book. And what you do is you data dump it into an Excel report. It then formulates and it gives you a rate suggestion. So those rate suggestions are built in. They're easily customisable by either your res or your GMs, whoever does the yielding at your property. And from that, we found that we did see an increase. So I've just got this little video to show you how Rob works. So this is me data dumping Rob into my Excel. So if I plot Rob in here, I'd already done the AM data dump, and so I was doing the PM one. And as you can see, so it's got our dates that we did it. It shows how many rooms we've picked up in between 8 AM that day and probably about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day. It tells us our pickup rate and the overall revenue, and it tells us whether we should increase, hold our rate or decrease our rate based on those room nights. For us, this was really quite detrimental because our weekend teams, they're really busy. And in the middle of summer, when we were seeing pickup like that, we didn't have time to train people in how to read easy RMS results, how to read our comp set. So we really just needed a quick solution to show us how we could make a bit more money. So with this, we tested it through our Dark Mofo. Dark Mofo is a 2-week festival in Hobart. It's centred around Mona Museum. It's basically just 2 weeks of really, really out there odd events. And it draws a lot of people to the city. Over the years, we've been full for Dark Mofo in the weeks leading up to it, and this year we were still waiting on those bookings to come through. We didn't use the report on the first week, so week 1 was the first weekend of Dark Mofo. We saw that we picked up 15 room rates at about $214, and week 2 we did use Rob over the weekend, so our weekend team did the data dumps and adjusted the rates accordingly, and we saw that whilst we picked up 17 rooms, we actually picked up them at a rate of $162.33. So we saw a great difference in our revenue from changing those rates on the day without having to add in any extra payroll costs to make sure we had someone there to do that, and without having to delay us anymore in training people to learn those skills. Overall, we found that Rob really gave us an opportunity to increase revenue. The preloaded suggestions set by the rate controllers really set the scale for what they had to do. The team found it really easy to use, it was really easy to read. It's designed that you can just look at it and you know what you've got to do. Overall, it really limited the time we spent on reviewing reports throughout the days, really made the weekend team easier, and it really assisted us in almost making a budget for June. So we did miss out, but we got close. And thirdly for me, I did a strategic visit. So I did a strategic visit to head office, and it was mainly centred around meeting my mentor Cardia and also getting exposure to the marketing team. I'm just about to finish a marketing degree, so it worked out really well for me to be partnered with Cardia the last year. When I went to head office, I had 2 days, and I got to go into the marketing team a fair bit in the first day. We covered customer retention, digital marketing, and strategic partnerships. From our customer retention, we looked at our WBE base and how we could drive bookings through that, and how our email opt-in was imperative to making a bigger WBE base for us. Our digital communication looked at what we were giving people and how we were doing it, and our strategic partnership focused on making partnerships that gave back to our property and back to our team. From sales and mice, I got to have a conversation with Christine to see how we could better off our group lockings we have for conferences and what we could do differently there, as whilst we held a lot, our materialisation was quite low. And with sales, I was lucky enough to go out with Alison Roberts and sit in on negotiations and see how she does what she does. I got to come to Rush Cutters and do conferencing with Steve and his team, and I got that hands-on experience that I can't exactly have down in Hobart, so that was really beneficial as well. And with system support, I got to meet James Black, this big idol of mine, and I got to I just love him. I tell him all the time. He's like, gets really embarrassed when I do though. James took me through how to fix my own SiteMinder results, how to fix ghost bookings in ProTel for myself, and just taught me a couple extra skills that I didn't know. James Ferris took the time to take me through the GDS and the distribution channels. What I found really beneficial was that I had a lot more tips on how to deal with corporate travel agents. So we found out why they called in the middle of the night and why they can't push their own cancellations through and stuff. We took away a lot of key wins from my strategic visit to head office. So with our presentation for conferences, we found that we had a much higher quality of visual presentations. We put a lot more effort in. We didn't have many, we don't have a conference coordinator in Hobart, nothing like that. So it really was on myself and Sharish to make those events look good. We also don't have a conferencing budget, so we really had to use what we had at the property. We redesigned our conference pack to make it easier for events. At the start of the year, we had a pack that looked at buffets and it just had a list of meals and people went through and picked their own. Quite often we found that those menus weren't marrying up. So we summarised our conference pack and made it so we just set our team, which was Sharish and I, would be planning their menus for each function. We found that that kept the food quite seasonal and it kept it fresh and people weren't getting the same thing every time. Our accuracy was improving our email accuracy to drive our e-club. Over the last few months, we have been increasing the number of email opt-ins, and last month, Travelodge Hobart was number 1 for email opt-ins, so we got 70%, which was a great milestone for us. And we had that better understanding of our GDS policy. Our partnership, we provided for meals in exchange for marketing, so we went through and we contacted local tour companies and we traded advertising them on our Travelodge website in exchange for getting for meals. We're partnered with Run the Bridge in Hobart, and although we gave them about $1,200 worth of free rooms each February, we really saw nothing of our name or our brand out there on the day. So this year we're getting our own banner and we're just getting little bits and pieces throughout the competition, which shows why we're there. The improvement with the relationship and the bookers, was something I learned a lot about from Alison. So I learned that whilst we stay in the hotel and we personalise those relationships with the guests, we don't necessarily think of the people booking those rooms. And so a big thing for me was personalising those relationships and making those friendships not only with those in-house, but those that I'm talking to over the phone or I'm emailing consistently. It just gave us a deeper understanding of client happiness overall, which was really good, and we enjoyed it mostly. So my recommendation is that the future management leadership team members are given the opportunity to go to head office for a visit. I think by combining our future leaders with our senior leaders and giving the team exposure, that they'll take away a lot of key wins and it'll bring a new level of innovative projects to us, and it'll just see new ideas flow, because I took away 7 or 8 ideas from 2 days in head office, so imagine what 15 of us could have done. So, overall, my last 12 months have been very big. It's been overwhelming at times and I've battled a lot of hurdles to be here today. I just want to particularly thank Cardia, Jay and my hotel manager Sharish for consistently positively reinforcing me that I would make it here today and that I would make it through all the health issues that I've faced. I also just want to say thank you to the sales team for having me and Rush Cutters, and for James Black, of course. Oh, it's great. And just Jeannie and William for always being my sounding boards to every idea that I had that really didn't pan out. So that's all from me.